CM 365, all about Carnatic music.
Today we'll be discussing about some elements of music pertaining specially to Carnatic music. Now basically if you look at the musical tones, we see that they are recognized by the characteristics of pitch, intensity and timbre. Now when a person actually sings, we refer to his singing in a particular katte. That is, we say rendu katte shruti or nalu katte shruti. Now what does this katte actually mean here is that this actually refers to the basic note or the sa that to which the person is able to align. The katte is here actually means the key of the harmonium. So when I say rendu katte, it means that the second, that is a second white key of the harmonium is what we are referring to as this adhara shadja. Now if I say nalu katte, it means the fourth white key of the harmonium. So this katte, this concept which we now also refer to in the English mode, that is the Western mode, like the G sharp, C sharp and other things. But basically the Indian mode, when we are referring to unga shruti enna, then we say anju katte, nalu katte, again, which means that it refers to the key in the harmonium which happens to be his adhara shadja, and based on that he is singing the whole concert or his music itself. Now coming to the person's basic adherence to shruti, we see that the harmonium, each key is higher than the other. This is very obvious. Now the second one and the fourth one, you see the fourth one will be obviously higher than the second key. Now the sixth one will be higher than that. So as you keep moving further, you see that the pitch or the katte also increases here. Now when you talk about this in the context of the instruments, we see that in instrument the pitch varies directly with the concept of the tension. That is, when you tighten the string, what happens is that the higher tension and the pitch also becomes more. And it's just the opposite. When you kind of loosen the strings, what happens is that the tension becomes less and the pitch also becomes less automatically. Pitch varies inversely with the vibrating length of the stretched string, and the greater the length, the lower the pitch, and the shorter the length, the higher the pitch. This we can take the example of three instruments belonging to the same string instrument, that is violin, viola and cello. The violin we see has got shorter strings, then the viola slightly is bigger in size, the cello is very much more bigger. So the concept of what I was telling in terms of the pitch, the shorter the length, the higher the pitch, applies here itself to these three instruments. You can compare and see the concept or the statement that I made now. In the veena also we see the same concept, that the position of fingers of left hand of veena player illustrates this principle. So what happens is that when the finger actually moves towards the bridge, you see that what happens is that the vibrating length of string dimensions and higher reaches heard. We are able to actually see the same principle in the veena also. And coming to the basic concept here, we see that the shruti that we are talking about in the entire context of our Indian music, the shruti is the most important element. And adhering to shruti is very the basic element, I would say, because if you don't adhere to the shruti, the whole music itself doesn't make any sense and it becomes apaswaram. So shruti is of prime importance, and that also defines the aesthetics of sound. And this we can also take the example of some maestros to see how, when there is absolute perfection of shruti, that is shruti not only in terms of the adhara shadja, but every note has to be in perfect shruti. So in the case of maestros, we see that this kind of perfect alignment to shruti makes their music very aesthetically beautiful. And in fact, when we have small children coming to class and we switch on the shruti box and they are not able to align properly to the shruti, we tell them immediately shruti odu pada, which means that try to align to the shruti and sing. And even when the instrumentalists, when they're learning, from a guru, they are not able to perfectly align to the Adhara Shruti while tuning. We tell them that Shruti Serth Vasi, that is, try to first tune your instrument properly to the Shruti, perfect to the Adhara Shadja and the entire, the basic scale, and then play. So this alignment to the Shruti is very, very important, whether you are a vocalist or an instrumentalist. For everyone, adhering to the Shruti is very, very important. And of course, very common saying that all of you would have been aware of, Shrutir Mata Laya Pita, which means that Shruti is of paramount importance as far as our Carnatic music or Hindustani music is concerned. Now, coming to the aspect of pitch again. This is something very, very relative in Indian classical music especially, where we see that there is nothing standardized like the Western music, where, in the Western music, each, especially the vocal music, you see that each person is trained in a particular pitch. They get the expert training as in terms of being trained in bass or baritone, tenor, soprano, etc. So a person trained in one kind of, pitch, they cannot really shift to another pitch. It's not easy for them to do that. A person, for example, who does singing in tenor, he cannot sing the high-pitched soprano because the vocal techniques are totally different for each. How you throw your voice, how you modulate the voice, everything is totally different. But in Carnatic music or Hindustani music, we see that the pitch is a very relative concept in the sense that each artist can choose his own pitch for singing. Now, this pitch is something which we choose where we are comfortable in singing the at least minimum of 2 octaves. Like, for example, the half of the Mandra Sthayi, the full Madhya Sthayi, and half of the Tara Sthayi, which adds up to 2 octaves in total. So when you are able to comfortably traverse this entire range of 2 octaves in any particular pitch, we choose that as our pitch. And for instrumentalists also, this is a comfort zone where whatever pitch suits them, they actually adopt it. Of course, there are certain pitches which are very ideal for the instruments, and obviously the instrumentalists will choose that for their playing also. And coming to the percussion, of course, if they are going to accompany a vocalist or an instrumentalist in a concert, they'd obviously have to tune their instrument to the Adhara Shruti of that particular main artist. Now, also we see that this pitch concept or the Shruti concept changes from age to age, in the sense that suppose you take a young boy, he is maybe probably able to sing in a very high pitched voice of 5, 5.5, even 6 also. When he reaches the adolescent stage, then the voice breaks and then it comes down much slowly, comes down to a lower pitch, and probably finally settles at 1.5 or 2, ondra katte or ende katte, like that it settles down. And even in the case of women artists, we see that till probably, even for myself, till the age of 25, I may have been able to sing very comfortably in Anjara Katte. Then slowly with age, now I'm able to sing comfortably only in 5. And probably at the age of 80, by the time I reach 80, it'll lower further, and then probably I will be able to sing comfortably only in 4 or 3.5. But this really does not matter because of the fact that singing in 3, singing in 6, just because you sing in 6 katte, you're not a greater singer in any way than one who sings in 3. What is important is your comfort zone in terms of being able to traverse the entire range of the notes that is demanded by the system. Thus we see that pitch, Shruti, these are all the basic elements of Carnatic music and Hindustani music, and they are very important to be adhered to in order to make the music sound aesthetic.
CM 365, all about Carnatic music.